Okay, we're up and running.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's call to order the Commercial Amenities Working Group meeting. April 30th is 1:01. I'd like to have an approval of the draft agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any additions? Comments? All in favor? Ready? And approval of the minutes for April 8th, 2026. Correct to me, any additions or changes?
So moved.
All in favor? Okay, resident comments. Anybody want to talk about anything we're going to talk about today? Which, as far as I'm concerned, is almost anything.
Well, I guess I can.
Restaurant.
What the status of the contact business is under the agenda.
Yes.
These are weekend openings. I know you said at your meeting, it was Monday through Friday. And, most of us have families that live nearby and we invite them in on
Yeah.
weekends.
Yeah, it was interesting. We just got back a second, I guess this is their final business plan, right? That we're going to discuss today, but and they keep pressing for 7 days a week, but I don't want to commit for them because of our limited population. I think we need to give them some flexibility. So from what I can tell, these folks are going to try very hard to please. So we'll be talking to them starting almost immediately about the contract. And so that's something that Audra can discuss. Well, you can just say that a lot of people want the weekend, but we'll see how they want to do that business wise. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
In a separate matter, if I understand correctly, residents can bring their own alcohol to the clubhouse. Isn't that a problem? Because they're gonna be serving alcohol based on the resolution right now, the way it's written. It looks like it's, the residents can bring alcohol to the clubhouse.
We can't.
I'll let Donalise talk about this because as far as I know, whenever the restaurant is involved in something we're doing, you cannot do that. If they're not, if they choose not to be involved in something, then we have been allowing that. But Donalise, do you want to discuss that?
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. I understand that, but from what I understood, and correct me if I'm wrong, but based on the way things were with the former restaurateur, people could bring their own alcohol anytime.
So I don't think it's ever a good comparison if we consider the last restaurateur. When we're having an event and the restaurant is catering it for us, you cannot bring your own alcohol. If your club is meeting on a Tuesday afternoon and you want to have wine at your club meeting, you can do that. It's just, you cannot bring alcohol into the restaurant when they're selling it. You cannot bring alcohol into the event space when the restaurant is involved in selling alcohol.
Okay. No,
Yes, ma'am.
As long as you're talking about hours, I'd like to put in a pitch in the contract if possible to have a Sunday buffet for brunch. They're really only on special occasions can you go to a Sunday buffet anywhere around here, and it's usually really, really expensive. You know, so that would be a nice thing for us to have here.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Dave, anybody? No. Okay, then let me start with my comments. I've been going around to every building and trying to explain the programs, talking a little bit about Fountain Grill, talking a little bit about our neighborhood, talking a little bit about this voluntary gift card program. And let me be real clear in a real short way. This program is trying to do nothing more than activate our community. Is trying to get people to realize that we have a closed society here, that we only have, how many people do we actually have? 1,700? About 1,700 people that typically maybe 500 people at the most use the restaurant, which means 1,100 people don't. So the people I've been trying to get to are the ones who have sitting at home and not participating. The reason the board wanted to make everything voluntary is that, some people can't afford it. Some people are in such shape that they can't come out. So we don't want to be charging people who can't use the facilities. We want to activate people who can. And that is the whole purpose of this program. And it's voluntary for that reason. It's voluntary because we're just trying to get people excited about it, trying to get them, especially in the beginning, the first 4, 5, 6 months, to come to the restaurant and try it out, see how they like it, and hopefully that'll become a habit pattern. But that's really what these programs are all about. So I've gone to every building now except the Overlook. I've been promised that all their residents will sign up, correct?
How many?
All of them, 100%.
How many residents not?
So all 8 of them are gonna come. So just so you know, I started with River Bend, that was my first lecture. And that night, we got 46 signups. And since that time, we've gotten another 34 to sign up. So we have 80 people signed up in River Bend to do this. I then went to Riverview next. I then went to Riverview and it was a little bit of a firestorm, but it wasn't so bad. Oops.
Cut in and out.
Is that okay? But we have 82 people from Riverview who have signed up. I went to Blue Ridge and 54 people have signed up from there. I was just talking to them about that. They've had their sign-up sheets in the office. And I talked to them again and asked them if they wouldn't put them out by the post office boxes, just so people see them as they go by. In Blue Ridge, we did, I already talked about Blue Ridge. In Potomac Ridge, we have about 60 people signed up, or I think 58 is what you said today. And that has been out. And so we're finding 4, 5, 6 people every day sign up if you'll just put those out there and put out a little note what it's about, and maybe even put out some of the material that I provided at those lectures. We went over to Magnolias. We did that in the afternoon, so I wasn't too happy with that. We had kind of a low turnout there, but we had 20 folks sign up there, and they have put their sign-up sheets in every building so that the people who come down and get their mail can get that. So right now we have 300 people who've signed up. And the problem for me with that is those are 300 of the activated people in the community. And so I'm going to start sending out a few emails to each building and ask them to send them to all their residents and just say, please talk to your neighbors, tell them what this is about and try to explain it to them. Because the people who don't come down to the meetings never really know what's going on. And so it's very hard to engage them. So we're through with that program. Next on that voluntary list is I'm going to get small committees in each building. I've got them in 3 of the buildings now. So we need to get 4, 5, 6 people. And we're going to get together and train on the TOW system to sign people up for the cards. And once again, this is a voluntary gift card. So you can have an actual physical card, or you can just sign up on your phone, or you can just sign up, with your computer. We'll get you later. And it's been confusing for people. They don't seem to understand that you're the ones who are going to sign up.
I'm going into the battery.
Doesn't look like it, but. How's that? So the individual is the one who's going to add to their account. And we're hoping to get commitments that people will do that every month, whatever level they feel like they want to volunteer for. But we're smart enough to know that if you went and you had 5 bad experiences, you won't be signing up anymore, right? So the whole point is to go try it, see if you like it, and try to remember that this is an amenity for our community. It's our very biggest amenity. It's the one that most people use. And as I said in my lectures, if we start just cutting out amenities from our community, all of a sudden, we're not gonna even have a community, you know, if we cut out things that are expensive, like if we cut out the gate, that'll annoy some people, if we cut out the tennis courts or the, you know, the activities up there, that'll annoy some people. If we cut out the restaurant, that'll annoy some people, so every activity is handled by LWVA, and that's what we're trying to maintain and trying to maintain our community. Any other things I should be talking about there?
Question
Yes,
about the signups. So are the volunteers in the buildings gonna be signing people up or?
yes. Just helping them sign up. Yes.
So people could do it themselves?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I don't know the toast system well enough. I'm gonna get together these committees in each building, sit down and go through a training with the toast people so that we really know what's going on. But you can basically go in on your phone and go in with a card if you want. And can you make it an automatic payment? You could if you wanted, but that would be through your bank or through your credit card company. That has nothing to do with the toast system. So people can do anything they want, however they like to pay their bills. But so that's how we're gonna do it. With each building is going to have a committee that will go through the list that we have and sign people up. Any quick questions on that? Did you want to ask your question right quick?
Yes, a couple of things. When do you plan to open?
Audra is guessing July 1st. Some of that, what? You're not guessing? Audra's not guessing July 1st. But probably at least then, because, you know, they're gonna have to get, liquor licenses and all that kind of stuff squared away.
Describe in
Fred?
detail.
Can you repeat questions when they come up? We can't hear them.
When do we think we'll be opening? Not before July 1st.
Can you tell us more about volunteer opportunities?
I don't know what to say about that. That's kind of a long discussion. The volunteer, we're suggesting 3 different levels, $200 for people who use per unit per month, for people who use the restaurant a lot. 100 for people who just want to support it. I could see my wife and I doing 100 because we go a time or two a month. And then $30 for people who just want to support the community or get a sandwich every now and then or something like that, some very minor thing, but it's voluntary. So if you wanted to put $5 on there, you could do that. If you wanted to put 1,000, you could do that. It's all voluntary.
300 would be too much.
Well, you know, one woman said to me in one of the lectures, you know, I want to put 500. And I said, well, why would you do that? You know, it's just, you know, I don't care what they put, but I would rather they be more careful about it than that personally.
So if. Uh,
Well, you go dancing all the time, so that may not be too much. Yeah, we're just trying to get it so people get in there and try it and yes, make a commitment for a while. Yes,
So it's really up to us to decide.
it is.
I can see 100 a month.
Okay, good.
I think when you give your talk, I think if we made it a little more clear, I noticed from the questions that we had at the top bridge, that it's each month you're going to do it. You can change your numbers each month. You just want to get a general idea. So
Yeah, this is a promise you're making to me, so we'll see how that goes, right? But it's voluntary.
like for a year, something like that, you know what I mean? Like we're really obligated. Once we put our money down, the first month. of-
Obligated only by your honor, you know?
Right, no, I understand, and I think
Okay.
that should be made clear, but I
Okay.
think people want to know what they're signing up for.
Okay.
So they really not sure if it's just a contract for 6 months or a year or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Those of us like me who do not have smartphones and want to use our computers, these people that you're gonna have on the committee to help us, that would come up and help us add our computers.
I will talk to him about that. I hope so. Or, you know, if you want, and you're a card carrying person, you can just have them do it when you're down in the restaurant. You can just have them added on. So it's just like your regular old
But I
gift
could
card.
get a card. I mean, I could get a card instead and just carry it with me.
Yes, you could. Yeah. Okay, let's move on here. New business. Commercial kitchen equipment consulting agreement. Audra, why don't you tell us how this came up and why we're doing it?
All right, this is the restaurant consultant equipment contract. This is from Sternberg Hospitality. Our restaurant consultant has given us a price, a fixed fee of $3,500 to basically develop an equipment package for us for the commercial equipment. He would provide different options for us and recommendations as far as what equipment to purchase and put that all together for us. And the fee for that is $3,500. As was mentioned, has been mentioned before, we're gonna need at least the double convection oven, a char broiler, deep fryers, a burner range with an oven base, the new ice maker. And those things are estimated to cost anywhere from the low end to 18,700 to up to about $43,500. So it should fall somewhere within that range, but we do need the expertise of the consultant to help with purchasing of the equipment and speccing out exactly what our options are. And he would do that in conjunction with, if we sign a contract with the Fountain Grill, with those guys and consulting with them and, what, you know, they would recommend as well. So I had planned to move forward with that, unless there was any objection on that. I think we do need the help with that. With regards to the equipment expenditures, just did want to add one other thing that I did mention at the Budget and Finance Committee meeting the other day. In the replacement reserves, there is a reserve item for a makeup air unit in the kitchen, and that is for the exhaust system, the hood in the exhaust system. So basically it provides air into the space because air is being sucked out through the exhaust, so you have to push air in. And it would probably be a good idea for us to schedule replacement of that soon. It will only take a day to replace it, but if it breaks down, then we're gonna, you know, if it just breaks down and then we look at replacing it, we're gonna be looking at some downtime for ordering the equipment and then having it, you know, come in and all that stuff. So the replacement reserve stuff, we haven't gotten pricing yet, but the replacement reserve study had estimated an approximate $42,000 for that piece of HVAC equipment. So that's just something we need to think about. And again, it doesn't need to be done before the restaurant opens, but just something we need to think about possibly doing soon. We wouldn't want them to be in the middle of operations and then get shut down for a month because the equipment's on order.
Didn't we replace the HVAC last year?
Yeah, but this is a different unit. It's not the air conditioning and heating. It's called a makeup air unit.
Any thoughts or comments about any of that?
I just have one concern that before we do any renovations or major overhauls of the kitchen area, we should make sure we have a signed contract. So we can engage the consultant, I don't mind doing that, and getting professional help to select things is great. But it's kind of based on that we have a contract. Otherwise, we may change directions or something later on. So it'd be like, yes, we want to do it, and there may be some things you would need regardless, like you said, this air thing coming in, air makeup. That may be something that we know that we should have looked at the beginning anyway. You know, but as far as replacing any of the equipment, getting a new fryer and all this other stuff, let's get feedback from the operator that's gonna operate the restaurant first.
Well, that was my comment. I can't quite figure out why we're still using the consultant when we're talking directly with people who are going to be doing the operation. I would be much more in favor of going through negotiations with them, finding out what they need and what they want. This just seems to me to be extra money that we don't want to spend, but that's just sort of my feeling.
I kind of disagree with that. And I don't like spending the money for a consultant either, but when you're looking at someone who knows the equipment, the quality of the equipment, how to get the package deals and what we need, I think you need a professional engaged for that. We don't have that knowledge. We don't have those sources for things. So $3,000 is a lot of money to pay for someone to do it, but it could cost us a lot more if it isn't done correctly.
I know of just, I mean, in the past, I've bought stuff from my little pie store. And if you don't buy the right stuff, it'll cost you in the end. More than what, the 3,000 is, or 3,000, a little over that.
35.
35. He can save us that on even one or two pieces of equipment easily if we get the commercial grade through different sources. And a lot of these places you buy restaurant equipment, you need memberships. I know that I had to be part of a restaurant supply. It just doesn't let anybody in off the street. You had to be a member in order to even buy the stuff. No.
What's the membership cost?
No.
Just two brief comments. Mary pretty much spelled out my view well. The other two things that come to mind is if we get a list of proposed equipment from the vendor Fountain Grill, an independent consultant is probably better equipped to address whether those suggestions are better than what we might have in mind. And second, the focus on independent, even though all of this in one way or the other appears to be covered in the replacement reserve study, having an independent consultant verify not only for us, but also to the community that these are reasonable costs, I think will assuage some of the concerns that some people might have.
Okay, well, as far as the committee goes, let's take a vote on this. How many would like to pass this on to the board as a recommendation?
Is this a motion?
Yes, this is a motion to recommend to the board that we sign the consultant's 3,500 fee purchase equipment.
Contingent on getting an agreement.
Okay, contingent on getting agreement. All in favor?
I seconded that motion.
Okay, and not in favor? So we'll pass that on to the board. Let's see here. Okay, unfinished business, volunteer restaurant support program status. I've already done that. Restaurant business plan and operating agreement. Do we want to discuss the plan that came with this update that we have? We don't really want to discuss the agreement right now, but we probably ought to talk about what we like and don't like about their operating plan. Any comments on that? I know you just had it one day.
Are you talking about the business plan or the business plan? I thought this was all executive session. Is it not?
Well,
Mhm.
I don't know why we need to be in executive session to talk about the plan they're trying to present. I certainly have one thing I want to say, so.
I really think that, yeah, we have a very active community here. And some people that, oh, we have an active community here and sometimes in negotiations, people don't try to help us along. And sometimes that help or try to hinder us. And, you know, there's different parties and the thing, so while it's being negotiated, you can't show your hand on everything of what you want to do or everything, but I think the basic agreement of an operating agreement versus a lease of a space, that's probably about the only thing we could really, can't go too much deeper than that. Right? The general concept.
Well, I have one thing I'm concerned about all throughout, the agreement and all throughout this final operating plan for them. We have everything being an exclusive to LWVA. Nobody can come on, that they can't handle any other business except within our gates. We know from the consultant, certainly this is the way I feel about it, that because we have a closed community, we switched like, that's off.
It's all.
That one's on a different system, so that, one he just had in his hand.
So, anyway, I think it's very important for LWVA to have control over the process. But for example, the Fountain Grill handles, the honor flights and everything. And let's say they wanted to bring in a group of honor flight people and they wanted to have some kind of a function for them. I would be in favor of Donna Lease or whoever is in charge of the activity group to be making those decisions. I think it's important that they fit into the schedule. I think it's important that they follow the rules of the gate, just like we all have to. I think it's important that we protect our community, but I don't like writing in all these agreements that they can't have anyone come on campus. So I would like to think about modifying that some and thinking about some language that gives LWVA some flexibility there. Are you worried about that, Audra? Why are you worried about that?
That's not like when we have outsiders come for functions. Been a problem in the past, a big problem.
Has it been a big problem or was it a big problem because she wouldn't follow the rules? I mean, I think it's really important that we have a giant scheduling board down there and we do the restaurant, do everybody else through that. But it makes no sense to me to limit a business like that when we're struggling to make sure our community supports it.
That's something the board has to decide. Allow that.
Okay. Well, I'll bring that up to the board.
You're assuming
Done all
all
these?
re- I'm sorry, you're
No.
assuming all residents feel that way, and I don't know if that's true. Some of us don't mind.
What I found is it takes just a few complainers to make everybody
know,
feel,
that's-
yeah. Well, I'm more interested in being a good business partner, giving them every advantage we can. But I understand that we have to be in control of the process. I understand that people like a gated community, so I want all those rules followed, but I think we should be more flexible those, and I will bring that up to the board.
Just a suggestion, since we're going to be talking about the lease and executive session, maybe two things we can talk about as a committee and make a collective recommendation to the board on. One is whether or not to allow third parties to come on site. I guess just so we all remember, there are two surveys. In at least in one of those surveys, those that responded were fairly significantly against doing that. The other thing that I think we might want to talk about, which was in one of the consultants' reports to us, is whether or not we want to allow a new restaurant operator to have takeout to third parties outside our premises. Just something for you to consider, President. That makes sense.
Well, I can't imagine limiting that. I mean, if they're doing catering and delivering it somewhere else, that doesn't affect us at all, so.
That's if you've got DoorDash drivers coming in here all day long. If they're using it as a ghost kitchen and you've got DoorDash coming in here.
No, we wouldn't allow that.
Okay,
But these drivers and people who service us come in all day long anyway.
on top of that.
Well, yeah, I just think you have to be very careful about the limitations you put on a company. We're asking them to do a lot with a little. So I want to give them every advantage we can. All right, we'll do that in executive session.
Did you talk about the Wallace and now lease that the operator did? Okay, just as kind of an update is there was a slight turn on. Typically, we would, in the past, we have always leased out the restaurant, the facility to something, to a vendor, and then they would do it. We're looking at, again, not repeating all the same mistakes and stuff. So we're looking at an operating agreement, which is, it's our restaurant, it's our amenity. We're just having someone come in and operate it for us. It's not a lease, we're granting permission to run or operate a restaurant in our behalf. So there's a slight difference, and if you've been into all of our talks, I think the consultant brought this up and discussed the different types of agreements you could have, and one was an operating agreement versus a lease. So we have more control in this matter, and we're looking at extending this out now with the contract stuff that we have. Just kind of as a food for thought. So this is one of our major premium amenities that we have on campus. And it's our amenity. It's not like the hair salon, that it's an amenity, but it's not one of our major. A lot of people go out in town and get their hair done. Others, will go there all the time. But it's a little bit different.
Okay, we finished everything on our agenda. Time for open forum. If anybody wants to discuss anything or make a comment.
Yeah, CAWG paid the consultant the $3,500. If you are replacing a piece of equipment, you could go to a restaurant supply place. You talk about, I don't know about them charging a fee, but there must be appliance places where they sell things. You have a salesman who will tell you what they have available. You work with that salesman. So if you're replacing the same thing that's sitting there, I'd see no reason to have to pay somebody else to tell you that's okay if you replace the same thing. That's just my thought. I think some people were unhappy about paying the consultant in the first place. This might be an opportunity not to have the consultant do that about the kitchen equipment. So that's that. And I forgot my second thing.
All right, we'll come back to you. Yes.
But Sheila said, I agree that, the restaurant itself should tell you what they need. They've been in business, over 30 years, had different restaurants. They know a lot about the restaurant business. I'm sure they know a lot about the equipment. And they have certain things that they would look for one. I think they're the ones that should make most of the decisions probably. Yeah.
Well, that was my thought, but we're going to pass that on to the board. Thank you.
I just wanted to myself also weigh in on this.
Try to yell loudly, so.
Okay. So, after we have a contract with the restaurateur, being that these guys know what they're doing, they know what equipment they need, wouldn't it make sense to consult with them and bring them in to help us to purchase the equipment?
Well, we're definitely gonna do that. Yeah, so they're talking about doing that in conjunction. In conjunction. Yes, sir.
We were unable to attend your presentation, and I'm wondering if you consider doing a video that we could view and share with our neighbors, or if there's another resource that we could look at, like I've never heard the term toast.
Okay.
I have no idea what that is, so anyway, is there a way we can get this information?
You know, when I set these up, we actually sent out that information to everybody's email. So I think what I'll do is I'll take my material, and as we sort of remind people of what we're doing and to go down and sign up, I'll send them that material. Toast just happens to be a big company. It does about 80% of the restaurants in the United States. A very sophisticated system, and it gives you lots of ways to buy a gift card. So
What is sales program?
point of sale program. So they already handle Toast in their other restaurant right now.
Fred,
Uh,
would you consider doing a presentation here for the people who missed it and perhaps put it on YouTube to expand your audience?
And
I know
and
it's your
invite the
time.
visitors in too.
Well, I have been talking to the board of the Vistas and they don't want to see it at this point, but yeah, I'll do one more and I'll do it here so anybody can come.
Are you going to be putting articles in, like the connector, in each of the building newsletters?
More than what I've done?
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes when things are really not important, I get a bill for $25 for my doorbell. But a simple one-page thing under every unit's door, or to be picked up near the mailboxes.
Yeah, we can certainly do some material and put it out by the mailboxes. Several of the buildings have said they don't want things delivered to every door. They feel that's solicitation, so.
It could be distributed, like for us, it's View from the Ridge. And it could be an insert to the monthly newsletter.
Okay. Since I've been doing all these talks, anybody want to do a article for all the newspapers?
You've been doing such a good job.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we'll do that for you. Anybody else? Well, you've already talked too.
Oh, one more thing, please. I just, as we were talking here, I was just jumped onto my phone and
Speak up,
signed up.
speak up, please.
As we were talking here, I jumped onto my phone and went into Toast and downloaded the app. And I know some of you don't use the phone, but it was pretty easy. Really. And you don't even get a card because the phone itself, the app itself shows you the amount of money you have in there, and you just send it to the restaurant and then they take charge of it. It's pretty easy. You don't even have to create a password. It's actually using your phone number.
Use your phone number, right? So you could go to the restaurant and just give them your phone number and they'd be able to handle that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing about opening up the community, I think the objection to opening up the community to outside was people coming in on a regular basis to use the restaurant. I think that since at our meeting, we had a person who worked with the honor flights. She said that evidently the restaurant we're considering is very active in that. They provide the box lunches and everything for the people. I think that we should not be draconian and say nobody. I think for special events like that, we should be open to that. It could pass through the board. You just have a yes or no vote, but it would be wonderful publicity for our community. You know, if we had the honor flight people come, I mean, if they wanted to have give them their lunches here, something like that. I think the objection to outside people was regular people coming to use it like a regular restaurant.
I sort of agree with that. I think it's a problem. Just having somebody make a reservation, all of a sudden you're opening up the community a lot. But we'll see. We'll keep talking about it and see what happens.
And they're older people too, and believe me, many people would like to come and meet these people. I actually was flying once and, from Las Vegas, and a big plane load of veterans came in from Houston, I think it was. And they got on the plane at Las Vegas, and they were the oddest like people. It was the best time I had flying in my whole life across the country. The guys were there, we sang songs, people talked about, they gave them the microphone and talked about their experiences. And it was a wonderful experience, and I think the community would support somebody like that. And actually, I was very pleased to hear that this restaurant was involved in that. I think it would be great.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
Yeah, Paul Dunham from Blue Ridge. I just have a couple of things I wanted to bring up. I was concerned about the DoorDash conversation that you were having, and I'm okay with DoorDash delivering some things around here. In fact, they do it now as it is, and they get through the gate just fine to do that. I don't know how slick that is, but that seems okay. I'm really concerned about the restaurant doing DoorDash reservations or orders and originating it out of here to go somewhere else. I think that would be a real confusion factor and an increase in volume that I don't think we want to see. As far as that goes, I thought we already had restrictions on who could come in to the campus. You have to have been called and okayed at the front desk, which is not something that somebody wanting to come to the restaurant would be doing. No one would be walking them through the gate. So I think that we already restrict the people from outside. However, if it's a special event, like maybe a board of realtors or some other group that wants to do something, that's not something that we really necessarily want to encourage. At least I know that has been a source of friction before, as far as people in the clubhouse wandering around and so forth. I think this needs to be kind of a private party kind of a thing. That's what I keep thinking of. That's why I don't like the idea of DoorDash coming and picking up stuff and taking it, to the assisted living over there or something like that. As far as the trust, I couldn't understand if you were saying that the gift card, which is really what you're talking about, is going to be handled at all by us, or it's totally by trust. I really am, and this is something that I was kind of hearing at the very beginning of your discussion of all this, was that we would be handling the money issues for this restaurant that came in, and I'm absolutely against that because that's not in our wheelhouse. And I just want to make sure that we don't become the trust people for all of the residents here, that they have to go through somebody with us. I didn't.
well, that comment was on a personal level. So you will have to handle your gift card,
Okay,
not anybody else's. Just yours.
and that's the way I really
Yeah.
want it to be. I'm jumping up and down on this point because I really like that we stay out of that business. It's not our money and it's not our business. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up was, one of the things that I'm really wanting to see is a schedule of, like a PERT chart or Gantt chart that would show us, because there's a lot of questions about the timing of things, and we don't want to sign the contractor until we get a signed lease or agreement with the restaurant And we don't want to get the equipment until we get them in place and so forth. And I think one thing that could help is maybe a timeline of how long it will take for some of these things to happen, so that we know when the question is, when is this gonna open, we'll know when the first domino falls and so forth. I think that would just be helpful for us to see that. But the other is, what are the things that are going to be helping the schedule of payments? Are there going to be any requirements from us to the restaurant to make sure that they are making progress toward profitability? Because one of the things that's in the air, the elephant in the room, is what about next year? Are we gonna have to do $7? Are we gonna have to do some subsidy next year? Because they haven't been able to get as profitable as they need to be. And I'd really like to see some kind of a concrete set of wickets that they need to go through, so that we can see that they are becoming a viable vendor for us.
Okay,
Audra,
yeah, that would be part of the contract, would have certain stipulations, like them sharing financials with us.
okay. All right, that, I'm interested in seeing that, because I think that that's what kind of happened before, is that they didn't follow any, never mind, don't worry. It's probably public, so I can't. But I just don't want to see things just all of a sudden, okay, now renew that contract and let's just get another year's worth of cash and stuff, so. I just want to kind of make a point of that.
I mean,
Getting back to that DoorDash, I believe, well, the restaurant said at some point, or maybe it was you in your meeting, that they were not gonna charge any more than you pay in the restaurant for the delivery service, so I don't think they would even use DoorDash. I don't know why it's even being brought up.
Well, delivery within our community is gonna be done by them. Yes. Yeah, they're talking about something else where if somebody called in and they wanted something and they wanted DoorDash to do it. But I agree with that. I don't think people should be coming in and delivering all over the place. If they want to cater and do some catering, they may cook that here in the kitchen and take it out, but that's completely different than a DoorDash kind of a thing. One last comment.
I object to us getting the figures. My ex-husband was an economist. I said, what did you learn? Figures don't lie, but liars do figure. So when you say whether they're profitable or not, they could say, oh, we're not profitable, or we are profitable, because they say you said make it 50,000 a year for my personal salary. I'm gonna put down 100,000, but we're not profitable. You understand what I'm saying? The numbers don't mean anything. And I think any business would not want you in their business like that. I think it's up to them to make their decision on what they want to do. And that's just my feeling. I think you might get some objection from the people who own the business. I just don't understand why we would even want to know where they're making, like the consultant said, 1.5% or 3% a month. Why do we want to know?
Well, I will tell you, in a lot of leases, especially retail leases, people do have to give their profit levels and their expenses so that the landlords can look at that. Some of them have an overcharge, so they, over a certain amount of money, then they start paying a percentage of that profit. So there are different reasons to do that, but I think for us, we want to keep track of what they're doing and see if there's any way we can help them. It's more about being helpful
Being
and
helpful. Say, I mean, is there going to be a special committee?
Remember-
Special committee's gonna have-
remember, we're covering a lot of this cost. I mean, this is our restaurant, so we take care of it, we fix it up. So surely we ought to be looking at their numbers, don't you think?
Well, I think the license agreement is a good idea because it's our equipment and everything.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. They can come in and do whatever. But I thank you for your explanation, but I think we may get into a quagmire with that. But if you say it's common business practice, which I'm not aware of, then I guess we go for whatever everybody else does, if it's that type of agreement. But it has to be understood.
Okay. Do I have a motion? I think we've done enough. Do I have a motion to end the public meeting and,
We have to schedule the next meeting. I think.
oh, okay,
Schedule the next meeting. And we want to mid-month, maybe?
I'm leaving the 18th.
At that point, what is it we're hoping to accomplish? We will have been to the board.
Well,
What's next?
I am very hopeful that we'll have a lease to approve or an operating agreement to approve by that time. It sort of depends how the negotiations go, whether it's how much the back and forth is. Yeah, why don't we wait a little while and just, and we'll set our meeting here very shortly.
Should have a meeting set before the next board meeting in June. I think.
Well, before the 18th then,
Or
if you want me there,
what time do you get back?
June 4th. The day after the board meeting.
Oh.
How about the afternoon of the 14th,
What day is that?
Thursday?
Well, 15th.
What's that?
How about the 15th? I'm out of town on this.
2:30 or later.
How about late Friday, the 15th?
When are you leaving?
ARP.
You're leaving on the 18th?
Yes.
I get back in town the 14th.
Okay, you're not speaking. What is it?
15th is fine with me. What about you, Barry? Afternoon of the 15th, maybe you want 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock?
Whenever we can get a room, depends on, but if we just schedule for the 15th, or that's good for now, we can advertise
Can we do
time and location like
2:30?
2:30?
No problem.
Probably work.
Okay.
Okay, 2:30, Friday, 15th. Okay, now do I have a motion to,
Motion to
Move into-
move to executive session.
second?
I'll second that.
Any agreement on that?
Thank you.
You want to sit at the other end of the table next time.
I can't get you out. I turn on my turn.
What's that? Been how far?
I can't do that.
Yes, 2:30.
Do I remove them? Do I remove
We'll
them?
just close it entirely, close the meeting
Okay.
entirely.